funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.
In 1879, many people from the Knock region in County Mayo witnessed an apparition of the Blessed Virgin Mary and several other holy figures. Since then, millions of people from Ireland and beyond have come to Knock Marian Shrine to find spiritual sustenance. We'll hear from some of these people later, but first here is Grace Mulqueen, curator of Knock Museum, to explain the Knock apparition.
An apparition, if you were to look up the word apparition definition, it's an unexplained event. And I always quote, I suppose, a school group that I had in recently, and they were kind of 8 or 9 year old girls. And I asked them, well, why was Knock such a special place, or why would they come on their school retreat? And this little girl put up her hand and she said, because Mary showed up. And essentially that's what happened here. Mary showed up, surrounded by St. Joseph, St. John, an altar, a cross and a lamb. Now this happened in 1879. And if you look at Knock today, Knock in 1879 was a really different place. Nothing special about it in any way. All it consisted of was the parish church, which is more or less the same today, and a scattering of small thatched houses. I suppose one of the things that I love about what happened here was it was totally unexpected. Everybody who came to the gable wall of the church on that night actually saw it. And what's lovely about the 15, what we call official witnesses, is that they were very ordinary people. And I always like to think that that's God's way of telling each and every one of us that each of us is special and unique in our own way.
I often stand here, and when I'm telling people, I often put myself into the shoes of those witnesses and think how scared, how frightened, excited. They must have had so many feelings about what it is they were actually looking at and trying to understand what on earth it was.
Knock Shrine tour guide Amory Duggan Hughes, on location beside the gable wall of the old 19th century Knock Parish Church, the site of the 1879 apparition.
They didn't know whether it was going to stay. As we know now, it stayed for 2 hours. But at the time, I'm sure when they were standing there, they had no idea how long was this going to last, what else was going to happen. But according to the testimony of the 15 people, and of course we know that more than 15 people actually did see the apparition, but we have to rely on the evidence of the 15 because they were willing to come back and to testify to what they saw. But yes, they must have been fearful that evening and they must have been frightened. One of the ladies in the group actually went to try and embrace Our Lady. She went to put her arms around Our Lady, but was not able to make contact with the image. She could still see it, but she wasn't able to make contact. And of course, they knelt and they prayed the rosary for the duration, and then the apparition went. So it just appeared out of nowhere and it just went back into nothing. It just disappeared.
When the witnesses were interviewed and when the first pilgrims were interviewed about what they thought it meant, they said that they took it as a great sign of hope and consolation for the west of Ireland that Our Lady would appear here. And if you put into the bigger context of life at the time, we're all very familiar with the Great Famine in Ireland, of course, in the 1840s. But again, in the late 1870s, the west of Ireland especially was faced with the threat of another famine.
Grace Mulqueen. Here's Amory Duggan Hughes.
In 1879, if you go through the history, if you go through the documents, you will find that even though officially the famine was supposed to be over by 1879, but we know that in various parts of the country, farmers were absolutely terrified that there was another famine coming because they had found pockets of the potato blight again in the farms, and they were so afraid that there was another famine coming. So people were very poor. And at that time, I'm quite sure that they had prayed their hearts out for change and for something good to come, or for changes, for better things to happen.
It was a very downtrodden country at the time, and the people just had this absolute faith and trust, and I think Our Lady came to comfort them.
Knock Shrine pilgrim and volunteer Mary Duffy.
Just to give them that little bit of a boost. And they were poor, downtrodden people, but their faith was so important to them. They really, really believed. And I think it was their faith and their trust in Our Lady that she just came to give them that little bit of a boost.
Now, 10 days after the apparition, the first cure was reported at Knock, and it was a little girl from Claremorris, which is a town about 7 miles from here, and she had come to Knock. She was deaf since birth, and her mother took her to Mass in the parish church. But during Mass, the little girl got very severe pain in her ears, so the mother took her out of Mass and brought her round to the gable, to the wall where it had happened. Now, immediately after the apparition, when the first people came to pray, and there were mainly villagers initially from the parish and surrounding area, the first thing they started to do was to chip away little bits of stone from the gable wall as relics and souvenirs. And this little girl, her mother at the time was wearing a shawl on her head, and the shawl was pinned closed with a hat pin, you know, one of those kind of pins with a top on one side. So the mother took the pin out and scraped away a little bit of the stone. She said she held it up to her daughter's ears, and her daughter was instantly cured. And we know all that because that was reported in detail in one of the main newspapers of the day after that.
Very shortly afterwards, people started simply leaving, to the, I suppose, consternation of the parish priest. They started leaving sticks and crutches and this and that and started inundating him with letters of reported cures, that when they came to Knock, such and such a thing happened. It ranged from a whole load of different things, from blindness to lack of mobility, to, you know, people suffering severe pain that were cured even though they went to their own doctors after that. Now, it is 1879. The medical sphere wasn't hugely sophisticated, especially in the west of Ireland at the time. And this just started to kind of roller coast.
Father Richard Gibbons, parish priest of Knock and director of the National Marian Shrine. Here is Knock Shrine tour guide Amory Duggan Hughes.
I get this question all the time. Do you really believe what happened here? Are you sure that this took place? And of course, I wasn't here at the time, so I have to depend on the witness's account of what was said. However, the one thing that you cannot change is all the miracles and cures that have taken place. And obviously they have been taking place over the last 136 years. But I mean, even the very last public cure that took place here, the lady's name is Marian Carroll, and she's alive and well and lives in Athlone. Now, I have met the woman on several occasions, and I have read her book, and I have listened to her tell that account of the cure here at Knock. So seeing is believing, and if all of us and most of us do have a touch of the doubting Thomas, this is where you put your hand in the side.
Knock is Ireland's national Marian Shrine and is visited by over 1.5 million people each year. So what kind of people nowadays come to Knock?
Here at Knock we have like two kinds of visitors. We have the visitors that they're on a bus tour and they're just, it's on their itinerary to come to Knock, and then they're going to other sites as well. But then there are the people who are coming here because Knock is their place of pilgrimage. It's the end journey.
They're from all around Ireland and from different countries, Europe, America and African people and Asia as well. So it's great.
Holy place, holiest place here, and Ireland is one of the lucky country the Holy Mother appeared.
Spiritually, personally, I think it's a very important place.
My friends and I, whenever we come, the first thing we do is go in and light a candle in the little chapel.
I could feel the kind of spiritual energy of the centuries available. It's a wonderful place to get nourished.
It's really important to us that people are here irrespective of their beliefs, of their religion.
They're from everywhere. There are people from all over the world. They're all ages, all colours, all creeds, all races, and there are people with religion and none that come in.
So it's not just Catholics who would be here either.
It's very peaceful here, that's the main thing, and very spacious. Kids love around surroundings, good sceneries, yeah. It's really just good family occasion, yeah.
And why do modern pilgrims come to Knock? Grace Mulqueen, curator of Knock Museum.
Some people come and just have a walk around to say their prayers, just to have a little bit of time out to think. Other people like to go into the church and have a bit of quiet prayer. Some people avail of our more modern services like the Prayer Guidance Centre, which is an amazing quiet space for prayer led by trained prayer guides. We have a really professional counselling service, which some people use, if they're at Knock, maybe they're thinking of something that might be bothering them that they'd like just when they're in Knock to, have a talk with somebody. And we have an amazing team of professional counsellors. We have a youth ministry team, so we have a very active programme for young people. And I love working with them. They come to the museum every day on that programme, and it's just so lovely to hear their impressions, because I suppose an apparition is a very removed and far, but you know what? It captures their imagination.
And as Grace Mulqueen touched on, there are a wide range of activities occurring in Knock Shrine on a year-round basis. Una Nolan, Director of Music in Knock.
There is a huge staff here behind the scenes that people mightn't realise, when they come for a day. But you've got, say, myself in my own little corner doing the music. But apart from that, you've got people working in the sacristy, laying out the masses all the time. You've got people working on the grounds. You've got a counselling service, people working in bookshops and selling mass cards, the hotel, a cafe. There are so many different facets to this shrine, or to this organisation, or whatever you would call it, and it all comes together to produce this wonderful thing that people see when they come here. And it's fantastic.
We've over 20 departments. With
20
departments.
Wow.
We've about up to 100 full-time staff. That increases to 162 or so for the summer. So there are huge, we've a horticultural
So
department.
in other words, it just doesn't just happen. People make
it happen, and the staff make it happen.
Father Richard Gibbons, Rector of Knock Shrine. Now, this programme intends to give a small taste of some of the wide variety of things occurring at Knock Shrine. To begin, here's Fiona McCarthy, Director of Counselling at Knock Counselling Centre.
There's two strands to the centre in that we provide ongoing counselling sessions for people in our community and beyond who want to attend to any range of issues, and they may come on a weekly basis until they experience some relief, some change, and an ability to move on in a different way. We also provide a drop-in service, I suppose, for people who may be passing Knock and having a bad day, who just want to speak to, maybe even hear themselves speak out what's going on in their lives, what is actually going on in their lives. And that's available at weekends as well, which is part of the service we're really quite invested in, I suppose, because there are very few services that are actually available out of hours as such. So Saturdays and Sundays for 6 months of the year, we're also available. So obviously we provide...
so in other words, the pragmatics. A person's working a 5-day week, whatever, during the week, every work day is taken up, and all of a sudden there's nowhere available on the weekend.
And also I think if you're experiencing any degrees of depression or anxiety or loneliness, weekends can be very lonely and can certainly exacerbate those feelings. So yeah, we value that resource that we have, and that's primarily staffed by volunteers. So the people on at weekends are volunteering. So there's great goodwill towards the centre as well. We do a lot of other work. We provide seminars and workshops. Our mission statement is to promote emotional and psychological well-being for adults and young people, aged 12 to 18. So we do a lot of workshops now for people who may wish to engage in psychotherapeutic support but don't actually want to do counselling. So there would be workshops there's anger management workshops that we run twice a year, and more recently a series of evening workshops. Stress and anxiety workshops for attending to stress and anxiety. There's one now we're advertising soon for people who've experienced cancer, so people who've had the diagnosis and then family members. There's another one coming up for men, so men experiencing a whole range of issues that are coming up in society now, maybe not having a lot of space or context to discuss these issues, so we're having a day for men. So we're trying to engage people who wouldn't necessarily want to attend counselling but who still are experiencing difficult issues in their lives. So we try to, I suppose, respond to as many as we can.
Right, and there's no lack of them. That's for sure anyway. Not in our modern world, but all the modern world's issues.
Absolutely. I suppose the most commonly presenting issue here would be that of relationships, So if you think about it, we exist in relationship from the day we're born, really. So we would be thinking about primarily couple relationships, but family relationships. Young people come in with difficulties in their own familial relationships, So that would be the most commonly presenting issue, that's difficulties in relationships, followed by stress and anxiety, depression, and experience of loss, grief and loss.
And you were saying as well, Fiona, you're getting people from all creeds, all backgrounds, no creed or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
If they have a problem, come on in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important to us that people are here irrespective of their ability to pay for a service, irrespective of their beliefs, of their religion. Absolutely. But what is really important is that whatever they come in with, they will experience the respect for their beliefs and respect for their way of being in life, no matter what their religion or what their place in society is, that they're respected as human beings, and that's core and central to our work.
My name is Monica Morley and I'm the director of the Family Centre at Knock, which really focuses on helping families that both live locally and those that come on pilgrimage here to the shrine every year.
And Monica, what is the centre? What kind of tasks are you doing on a day-by-day basis here in Knock Shrine?
Well, I suppose there are two elements to it. One would be family life and the other would be family prayer. So with family life, we would be helping couples to prepare for marriage. We'd be helping families to relate better with each other. We'd be helping people who find themselves bereaved or in difficult situations. Wherever family life is lived, we try and support them in as much as we can. Then in terms of family prayer, we believe that it's important to make prayer as accessible to families as we can. So we would have programs where we would bring people together to understand prayer, to pray together. We would have special family occasions where people would come, bereaved parents would come together and share in a prayer experience. So it really is about trying to marry those two strands so that family life is lived as well and as fully as can be done in today's world.
Monica, what kind of difficult issues now are people having nowadays in the real world, and you're meeting up with them and you're trying to help them get through these difficult issues? What kind of issues?
Well, there's a whole range of issues in life today that people have to deal with, from the very young to the very elderly. I mean, I think young families deal particularly with trying to understand the pace of change. The significance of social media has become a huge factor for young parents trying to understand what's going on for their children. Then there's the whole problem of living in a very changed environment where there's huge pressures on families, and this causes strain in relationship. You know, the lack of money, sometimes too much money, can lead to difficulties. A whole range of difficulties around alcohol and alcohol abuse, addiction. That's always a prevalent problem that we come up against here. Then you have, for older people, you know, adjusting to the older lifestyle, adjusting to life when they're not able to work, being on their own, coping with loss. There's so much of life that, you know, whatever comes at people we have to deal with, and it varies from year to year.
I could well believe it, and I'd say you're never out of work.
Never out of work. But it's work that's very satisfying, because I always say at Knock, people are very real when they come to Knock. You know, sometimes people come here and they'll say they haven't spoken to anybody else anywhere else, and they find they come here and the quietness and the beauty and the openness and acceptance that we as staff have for them makes it that little bit easier to feel God's love, God's presence in their lives through very tangible ways. And we like to do that for people who come here. We're very conscious here in Knock that people who come here are pilgrims. You know, we don't put any other label on them other than they're here as a pilgrim, and we're quite happy that people of all faiths and none would be part of the pilgrim journey with us.
People come to Knock with broken hearts, and you listen to their story. People came with funny stories, and just all kinds of people from all over the world.
It's the hundreds and thousands of ordinary people who come here.
When you come to Knock, you bare your soul to a stranger, and often that's easier maybe than it is to do it at home.
A problem shared, a problem halved.
Talking and sharing is really wonderfully healing at times.
When people come to Knock, they're in a place and in a space where they tend to reach out a little bit more.
Going to Knock for a lot of people is a cathartic experience, and they come here for that sense of peace, a sense of reconciliation and all the rest.
People come here with secret burdens, hidden experiences of pain in their hearts, and the place just opens that up and helps them to release it and find healing. And it's wonderful.
Monica Morley. Here's Amory Duggan Hughes.
Mary, I think, came to Knock to give people hope and courage and consolation. So for those who are cured and healed, it's absolutely wonderful. But for people who are able to cope and have that ability and that courage to deal with whatever situation it's in, that for them is great healing, because there's a lot of people who can't cope. So that is great healing, to be able to actually live with the situation and cope with the situation.
People are still being cured here in Knock, and it's a great centre of peace and reconciliation, and I think it gives people great comfort. And there's a lot of sorrow and sadness in the world, and a lot of pain and suffering, and I think it here gives them that inner peace and strength to cope.
Knock Shrine pilgrim Magdalene Lawless. Here's Una Nolan.
The beauty of it is, no matter where you go in Knock, there's the chance there for some sort of a spiritual encounter, whether it be wandering the grounds, maybe you get some sort of solace, and looking at the beauty of the flowers and that sort of thing. It might, there's little chances everywhere to say a little prayer, or to have a little personal encounter with God.
My name is Anne Lavin, and I'm the horticulturalist here at Our Lady Shrine Knock, and very privileged to be here.
First of all, Anne, would you just try and give our listeners a word picture of the landscape gardens here in Knock?
Well, our season for us starts in January. Our seeds arrive in, and then we have a heated bench, and we have a glasshouse, heated glasshouse. So all our seedlings are started there, and then they're moved from there to the tunnels, and they're there for 3 months, and then come the bank holiday weekend in June, we start planting. We never plant out before the first week in June, because there's always frost. There's always a risk of frost.
That late?
Always, yeah.
Wow.
The latest we got caught was the 4th of June one year.
That's a lot different from the east of the country.
Absolutely, yeah. But we're different from commercial bedding as well with our flowers, because they have to have theirs sold, where we're growing because our season is later. Our main season is July, August, September, running into October.
The height of the pilgrimage season, so you're trying to get it to bloom,
yes, to have it,
when the
and
most
the
people are
novena in
here.
August is our peak. That's kind of our height. Well, every day is a height, but I mean that's when people come. We have people here for maybe twice a day for 9 days, and so we get it's lovely to have that at its height for them. And then come September with the big grandparents, we have Padre Pio, Vincentians. We have a lot of big pilgrimages going into September as well. So that kind of strings it out. And then we're talking the first 2 weeks in October, and then we start thinking about next year all again. We try and plan it that we have going with the season, there's a time for. So it's like if you had blazing flowers all year round, that's not where your spirit is. Everybody has a calmer day or a higher day. So it's lovely to come in when the days are longer and the light is high. I won't say the sunshine, because we mightn't always get a bit of that. But it's lovely to come in and then just, whatever it is, flowers just lift you.
Absolutely. I mean, anyone who loves humanity loves flowers.
Absolutely. And people, we're amazingly privileged, because we get to meet so many pilgrims out the grounds, and they're at their calmest, and they're able to talk, and they're, everybody has their own story.
I'd say you get a lot of people just maybe they're in some serene meander, as I was this morning, and they'll stop off, look at the flowers, they see you working, and
yes.
I'd say I would
just
be very surprised if a conversation isn't struck up.
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing, and like even something you might think, and then it's amazing the stories they might tell you. And it might be a lorry driver coming from Donegal to Cork with his load. He might stop off to get holy water for his mother and his aunts, and then he comes in and thinks, wow, and then he'll take his time out, and sometimes you'll hear.
Are you for real? Wow.
It's lovely, and especially now since the bypass has taken the heavy traffic, the street is calmer, and it's easier for people to come in and just stop off. And then people just on the tourist route who might just happen on it and might not realise that this is what's here. And then of course we have people who make the pilgrimage, and I think people find great healing in the gardens. even just happening on a flower out of nowhere, and you turn around and it just gives you, or maybe getting that scent, or maybe the fresh cut grass, or the plants after rain. You know, you walk up and that's what awakens and you think, that's what it's about. It's just time to take time out and just breathe and say, this is what it's about. You know, be in the moment, because we're always setting goals and travelling from hither and yonder, and then all of a sudden you just take a small bit of time out and be in the moment. And that's what Knock Shrine is for a lot of people, whatever they find in whatever way.
The value of Knock and what a rich, wonderful, peaceful place it is.
And I think, you know, it's something that we all feel the minute we get to Knock Shrine, is this peace that this place has. It's such a lovely place to be. Whether there's thousands of people here or whether there's 2 people here, it always has that very special peace about it.
There's a feeling of peace in Knock.
For me, I get a sense of peace when I come to Knock.
The stillness, the slight step away from the bureaucracy of life.
It's a very special place, and you go up to the apparition church and you feel different when you come out. Yeah, you will get something from it.
Being here in a contemplative spirit, I feel an energy within me and a desire to go out, enrich people and share something of what I have gleaned from the Lord. The light of the Lord's face has shone on me. I'm energised.
So you come home with a new spirit and a new joie de vivre, I think, to get on with things.
My name is Nicola and I work here in the youth ministry here in the Shrine. So basically what we do is we work with all young people that visit the Shrine. From September to May we work with school retreats. So that's students from communion to confirmation all the way up to Leaving Cert. I suppose as a youth ministry we're really passionate about connecting young people with their faith and really trying to work to help them to step out of the busyness of their everyday lives and really just try and connect with God in a very real and a very positive way. One element of our retreat would be the Chenaclo community, and that's really a community of young guys that have a house here based in Knock. So there's houses all over the world, and one of them just happens to be here in Knock. So it's a group of guys that are maybe recovering from addictions, whatever addiction it may be, and they live in community together and they work together and they pray together, and it's through prayer and their faith that they overcome their addictions. So we would sometimes, with say Leaving Cert groups, the senior groups, we would have maybe 2 of the guys from the community down to maybe just give them a little bit of their own story, their own background. And it's really, really powerful to see the reaction of the young people. And most of these guys, I suppose, their backgrounds are so different, and it strikes the young people that you don't necessarily have to be from a really, really poor background for drugs and addiction to enter into your life. And then also to see their reaction and their fascination and I suppose shock that it's faith and prayer, no other medication. They're getting these guys through their addictions, that it's all through their faith and their prayer and their openness to God in their lives, and that's what carries them through. So it's really, really lovely to allow these young people to meet people like this, to hear their story and to hear how faith can change somebody's life so much.
And one of the people who helped to establish the Chenaclo Community House in Knock in the year 1999 was an Italian man named Vita, who himself successfully recovered from drug addiction in the 1990s. Now here's what Vita had to say about the normal daily routine for members of the Chenaclo community in Knock.
A normal routine in community is very simple. We get up very early in the morning. The wake-up call is 6. You have half an hour to do your personal hygiene. So certain days, 3 days a week, we shave, and certain days we don't shave. So you have time to shave, personal hygiene, and find yourself by 6:30 in the chapel, where we pray the rosary. Normally in the morning is the joyful mystery. So we pray the full rosary. After the rosary, we read the reading of the day, and the person that is doing the reading, he takes that as a commitment. He will do it maybe for a week or 10 days, and when he's finished, he has to tell the congregation or the other brothers something from the scriptures that touched him. A sharing, and we give maybe 10 to 15 minutes to the congregation. Maybe someone else want to add something that they may be being touched by themselves by the reading. After that, we go and have breakfast, and by 8 o'clock we'll be starting our working days. So in different houses we have different works. In Ireland we have a 26 acres land, a farm where we have animals, a lot of land, carpentry, building works, cleaning the house, cooking, you name it. As a normal family, everybody has his own commitment and responsibility. And so each one of them will go work, and normally you're always pair. You never work on your own. And that's good, so you have a company during the day, you're help, you don't spend too much time. Sometimes you can spend time on your own, you'll be thinking too much. At 12 o'clock we have lunch. We go back to work at 1:30. We normally pray one rosary during the work, and that's the sorrowful mystery. And but we don't stop working. We just keep working. We shout it out, and people answer back. And normally we work until, in the summer we push it maybe until 6:30, 7. In the winter, because it gets dark earlier, we might finish around 5:30. And depend if the weather is good, here in Ireland, it's not
That's
good.
an iffy.
Yeah, so we do maybe the third rosary of the day walking. We walk the rosary with where the farm is in the middle of the nothing. We are not disturbed by anyone, so we take a walk. We pray the rosary, we come back, we wash ourselves, and the supper will be ready. We have supper, and there is another moment of prayer. And after just free time, and normally at 9:30, you're asked to go back to your room, and you might read a book or something until 10. Light switched off at 10, that you like it or not. There's no, I continue reading, and I tell you by experience, after 5 years in community, and the way we work, you eating the supper, you're looking for the 9:30 call, the light goes off because you be tired, physically tired, healthy tired. So we do that for 6 days a week. And it's not all about work. We stop, we have an AstroTurf football pitch, we go and have a game.
And here's what Vita had to say about his beloved Knock.
Even if I was a millionaire, I will never jeopardize the happiness, the unity, the fellowship, the people that are actually have moved from different parts of Ireland to come to Knock. The Alexian Brother Monastery, the Shrine Grounds, the Cenacolo community, a lot of the locals, the GP, all the service that are in Knock. It is an oasis to me. From the madness of life I lived in drugs, prayer is everything. And to be living into a holy place is a prayer in itself. Our Lady came here. I walk those footsteps where she came in 1879. And her presence still here. And Jesus too. What a privilege. I'm in great company, haven't I? So I could have anything in life, but what I want really is peace and serenity, and I get it here in Knock. So I can't promote Knock too much. Hopefully I'm worried if I promote Knock too much, Knock will be going to become like Cork or Dublin. So I don't want to...
We better stop the interview now.
Yes, I say so, leave Knock the way it is, peaceful, quiet.
From the Cenacolo community based in Knock in County Mayo to another community called Faith and Light, who visit Knock Shrine each year. By the way, Faith and Light is an international Christian community movement bringing together people with special needs, their families, carers and friends.
My name is Marie Urquhart. I'm from Listonvarna Faith and Light community. We are here today for the National Pilgrimage of Faith and Light Ireland, which there's about 20 groups of us here from all over the country today, ranging from the west of Ireland, Listonvarna, to Blackrock in Dublin, Monaghan, Tyrone, Charleville, so all over the country really. We meet once a year here, and then throughout the year we meet in different parts of the country. The West region meets in Dunmore, County Galway. So today is, as I said, is our national pilgrimage, and we had Mass. We have a cup of tea when we arrive, then we have a little go to Mass, have the Stations of the Cross, and then we have come back for another cup of tea and catch up on what's going on for the year.
And whatever you do, don't forget about the tea. Marvel take is Marvel.
It's very, very important to our faith and light communities and people with special needs. It makes them feel kind of part of the family, and it's a bonding thing for them all. They love their tea and their bun.
Absolutely, but not only that, Marie, as well. I mean, I was up at the Mass there. Now, it was not your normal kind of Mass. Tell our listeners, because it was, pumping is the only
It's a real buzz. It's a different. We have special hymns that we sing. All our hymns have actions to them. You might have noticed that while you were in Mass. So it ranges for people that are well able to sing and people that just like to do the actions. As they're able to relate to it, they know part of the Our Father. We never say the Our Father; it's always sung, and they know to hold hands, and they know not to sit down after it because the priest says his bit. They hold hands again at the end. They're all very jolly masses. We normally mime the gospel. You might have noticed people with special needs were miming the gospel.
I saw that now.
Yeah, so they might have only learned that when they got here this morning. So that's a big part of Faith and Light as well. The other thing is our community song. I don't know if you noticed that at the end. That song is actually international. Oh, yes.
And how does the first verse go again?
I'm not a singer now.
Even the words.
The words were, it's me that builds community. And then it goes on to, it's you that builds community, it's us that builds community, it's love and it's Christ. But when we were in Lourdes 5 years ago, and at the end of every Mass, all the international groups end their Masses with that song. Now, it might be in different languages, but it's the same words and the same actions. So that's very special.
Since the Marian apparition occurred in Knock in 1879, millions of people from all over the world have visited the place, including many Indians.
I'm Tina. I'm from India. I'm from Kerala, south part of India. And here today we are celebrating the Syro Malabar community, and we all love to come here. It's very peaceful.
How long will the day last itself?
After Mass we'll have procession, so maybe nearly 3 hours.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good, and then there'll be maybe picnics and on, and
we
get together.
Yeah, we'll have picnic here.
And for yourself, you've been coming the last few years. What's the best part of the day for yourself?
I don't know, it's very peaceful here. That's the main thing.
My name is Shibu Thomas. Actually, I came through one of the church. There is a big family. There is 40 members in the bus. Same like me. They came from entire part of the Ireland to meet here. And we saw many of our friends because some of them are in Cork, some of them are in Galway, some of them Dublin. I'm from Dublin.
Wow, that's great. And you've got your son here beside you.
Because we came all of them with the family only. Nobody came alone because our community is very family oriented.
Now, we've heard from Indians who love visiting Knock Marian Shrine. However, the shrine also gets countless visitors from other far distant places.
My name is Stuart Webster. I'm from Jamaica in the West Indies, I come from a very strong Catholic family background. My grand aunt was a nun, and she mentioned to me about Knock. I'm now living in Tamarack, which is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I came along with my friend Merlin Wahlberg.
Merlin, where are you from yourself?
I'm also from South Florida now, originally from New York City.
Right, and Merlin, how long have you been here now in Knock?
Well, I've been in the area for about 3 days and visiting a good friend, and this is the culmination of our visit, is to be right here today.
Now, Merlin, you're from a Jewish background. You're
Correct.
Judaic yourself, yeah?
Yes, yes.
And how did you find our visit? What were you expecting, and how has it turned out?
For me, it's, in fact, the whole of Ireland that we visited has a deeply spiritual nature that just sort of bubbles to the surface. This place is very much like that, the parish church, which we were in.
I think Ballintubber, was it?
When we went to Ballintubber, yes, and also here at Knock, there's a very sacred spiritual feeling that clearly is beyond any particular religion, if I can put it that way. I experience it, and as you say, I'm Jewish, so it goes right to my heart. So I love being here.
I think we all have something to learn from every religion.
Indeed.
That's been my experience. Would I be right, Merlin?
Absolutely. Yeah, very much so. And for me, it is about religion has the potential to really strengthen people, and it also has the potential to separate people, as you in Ireland certainly know. And so from my perspective, the value that we can learn from each other is that thing that connects us all rather than that separates us. There's a sacredness that is available to everyone, and it has nothing to do with what religion one is, in my experience.
And Merlin, about your opinion on the apparition?
Some people might doubt whether it's real, and I don't doubt it at all, because God is all-powerful, and so anything is possible. And I feel sure that it's real, and that we are here to receive the benefit of it today just by being in the environment where that happened.
And as mentioned earlier, Knock is Ireland's national Marian Shrine. In this programme we've given just a small taste of the wide variety of things occurring in Knock on a daily basis. From counselling to youth ministry, prayer guidance to beautiful gardens, the Chinaklo Rehabilitation Centre for Recovering Addicts in Knock, and much, much more. Most people come to Knock to find healing, peace and quiet in their lives. When many step onto the grounds of Knock, they perhaps sense that they're among friends who can empathise with what they're experiencing in life, help share the burden, so to speak, since we all depend on one another. Knock Shrine horticulturalist Anne Lavin.
It was actually my first year working here in the shrine, which is a long time ago, and it was the last Thursday of the month. During the season is the Thursday is the special day for the sick, and I was walking over the ground towards the Basilica after lunch, and there was an elderly couple and their Down syndrome son, beautiful man, young man, he wasn't just child, but their mother, she tripped and fell, and it was the way he lifted her and rubbed her knee and rubbed her head and put her back together and lifted her up. It was just a beautiful thing. To me, it's how we carry each other, and I think that, to me, that's a sight that will live with me always, It's
Wow.
that we carry one another, and that's what Knock is for me.
It's a great oasis in the middle of the world, and it's soul building, and it gives me energy.
People, pilgrims, here to pray for whatever petition or whatever is important to them in their lives.
People talk about Lourdes and Medjugorje and Fatima, but I don't think people appreciate Knock for what we have on our own doorstep.
I'm 76 and I think Knock is most beautiful and peaceful, and I always get to come with my family.
I experience Knock and would see Knock as a place of sanctuary. It's a place where people can come. It's time out of life.
It's a beautiful, simple, peaceful oasis in Ireland. I'm very privileged to be living in Knock.
Funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.